You know, $9.99 is basically $10. You've always known that, and you've never been fooled by the 9, except you kind of are. And the unsettling part isn't the number itself, it's what accepting that number does to your brain. Handle every single purchase that follows it. Charm pricing isn't a neat little trick about making one item look a bit cheaper. It's a deliberate strategy built to completely recalibrate how you measure value altogether. Today, we're going to break down exactly how that works, and we'll expose why the companies doing it to you are collecting billions of dollars a year from people who consider themselves financially savvy. $9.99, $19.99, $4.99, $299. You see these numbers so often, they effectively feel like wallpaper. And that is absolutely not an accident. Charm pricing, ending a price tag in 0.99 or 0.95, shows up everywhere. It's hidden in fast food, software subscriptions, real estate listings, airline ticket add-ons, and app stores. It's utilized by massive corporations worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Mega companies who could easily charge flat, round numbers and choose deliberately not to. And here is the reality that should actually unsettle you. The academic research shows this pricing format doesn't just work on regular everyday consumers. It actively appears to influence decision-making even among professional buyers operating in high-stakes commercial environments. The cognitive shortcut that makes $9.99 feel meaningfully cheaper than $10 doesn't neatly disappear when the stakes get higher. It just becomes significantly harder to notice. So why does it work? And exactly what is it doing to your brain? The specific mechanism behind charm pricing has a formal name in academic literature. Scientists call it left digit anchoring. Here's the short, unvarnished version of how your brain processes a price. When you look at a number, your brain scans from left to right. It automatically tends to latch onto that very first digit as the primary signal of magnitude. $9.99 immediately gets filed under single digits. $10 gets filed under 2 digits. Those feel like entirely different categories to your subconscious, even though the actual mathematical difference is 1 single cent. In 2005, researchers Manoy Thomas and Vicki Morwitz tested this exact bias at Cornell. In one of their primary experiments, they showed participants pairs of prices. Then, they carefully measured how those participants perceived the financial gap between them. A price drop from $4 to $3.99, a mere 1 cent decrease, was perceived as a massive drop. It felt significantly larger than a drop from $4.50 to $4.45, which is actually a much bigger numerical difference. The left digit crossing a physical threshold did vastly more cognitive work than the actual math. What that study was really demonstrating isn't that human beings are bad at basic math. It's that under normal daily shopping conditions, we don't do math at all. Instead, we pattern match. We use lazy mental shortcuts, and those precise shortcuts are exactly what corporate pricing departments are engineered to exploit. Though there is one important caveat: this behavioral effect isn't entirely universal. The data suggests that charm pricing can actually backfire in luxury contexts. A $999 price tag on a high-end luxury watch can instantly read as cheap rather than a bargain. It directly undermines the signal of exclusivity that the wealthy buyer is actually paying for. The elite companies that know what they're doing understand exactly which context they're operating in. But left digit anchoring is honestly the obvious surface level part of the game. It's the basic stuff that gets taught in introductory marketing classes. The far more interesting and more expensive phenomenon is what happens next. What happens when you multiply this subtle effect across dozens of small transactions running simultaneously, that is where the real money is made. And that's exactly where most people completely lose track of what they're actually spending. Behavioral economists have a distinct term for the way we isolate money. They call it mental accounting, and it describes something most of us do constantly, entirely without realizing it. We don't naturally evaluate our total monthly spending as one collective number. Instead, we evaluate each transaction individually. We judge it in total isolation, matching it against its own insular internal logic, but asking, is this subscription worth adding to the $85 I'm already spending on things I barely use? Is a completely different problem. We almost always ask the first question, and we rarely ever ask the second. The modern subscription economy, just look at a realistic monthly picture for the average person. A $9.99 music streaming service, a $15.99 video streaming platform, a $4.99 language learning app, a $12.99 cloud storage fee, and a $9.99 digital news subscription. Each of those, evaluated completely alone, easily passes your mental test. It's just the price of a fancy coffee, but they are not evaluated together, and they are heavily designed not to be. The billing cycles are intentionally staggered. The individual amount are kept small enough to smoothly slide past whatever psychological threshold would normally trigger a second look. A 2022 survey by CNR Research, the average American underestimates their monthly subscription spending by around $133 per month. That is not a small, harmless rounding error. That's over $1,500 a year that people have technically agreed to pay but have effectively stopped seeing. The $9.99 price point, mental accounting, is the core reason it keeps working month after month without anyone noticing. So, what do you actually do about it? The honest answer is the individual fixes are incredibly small because these predatory systems are incredibly large. You are simply not going to think your way out of every cognitive bias. Not when billions of dollars of corporate design research has been specifically aimed at reinforcing them. That is worth openly acknowledging. But there are two concrete proven habits that behavioral research suggests can actually move the needle. The first habit is active price rounding. When you see a 0.99 price tag, force yourself to say the rounded up number out loud, or say it clearly in your head before you decide to buy anything. Don't say $9.99. Force the words $10. It sounds almost insultingly simple, but it is doing something incredibly real. It forces your prefrontal cortex to actively re-engage with the number. It snaps you out of autopilot instead of letting the lazy pattern matching system handle it unchallenged. The second habit is a total cost audit. Not budgeting in the abstract, but a highly specific, brutal exercise. Open up your real bank statement right now, not your vague memory of it. Write them all down and add them up with a calculator. The physical act of forcing those isolated numbers into a single stark column is what breaks the mental accounting illusion. You're not just organizing your subscriptions, you are actively collapsing the separate mental buckets. You are forcing them into one singular number, a number your brain can actually respond to. Most people who actually do this exercise find at least one or two recurring fees they had genuinely forgotten about. And that's not because they are careless. It's because the system is mathematically designed to be forgettable. If you want to try the audit exercise this week, do it. And drop your total hidden cost in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious what those real numbers look like across different people. It becomes far more illuminating when we can see and compare the data together. Next week, we're looking at something adjacent, but entirely different. We'll be analyzing the hidden design systems that keep you returning to platforms like LinkedIn. You don't log on because you actively want to, but because the product is built around the exact same cognitive loops we uncovered today, except it's carefully applied to your attention instead of your money. Subscribe if you want to catch that breakdown. See you next week.